hopping a hand for
Be careful.
He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
And welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Acecito.
And yes, we are excited, as we are every week, but this time of year,
We're really excited.
yeah, because this is so fun.
Most wonderful time
That's not.
of the year.
Ace has been drinking
I
longer
have.
than I have tonight, so you may notice a little more
A little bit.
holiday cheer from my trusty co-host over here. But cheers, buddy.
Cheers, buddy. Clinkies.
Clinkies. We are enjoying some very delicious Jefferson's bourbon.
Yes, we are.
And an old flame that has come back to visit us once again.
She came begging back. Well,
We went begging.
we went begging back.
And she took us back. She took us back.
She took
but,
us back. But we're
we-
not begging. We're not begging.
No, but we do enjoy Jefferson's bourbon, and you know, we brought it back for a limited run here, so
Yes.
we'll see.
Limited to 3 bottles because you bought 2 and I bought 1.
Yeah, we kind of cashed in a little bit, but
Oops.
in the new year we're going to bring some new stuff out and try some new things, and hopefully have a friend of ours that is into making bourbons
Yeah.
on to talk about comedy and bourbon. That'll be fun.
That'll be
That'll
great.
be fun. But thank you so much for
But
joining
that's
us.
next year.
That's next year. We're wrapping up
Let's-
2021, which has actually been an amazing year. And this episode that you are listening to right now is the best
Of
the funny bad gigs, which
Yes.
we talk all the time of our love of these stories. And you guys know how much we love these stories. That is a staple of this show, is the funny bad gig story.
Well, because you started this podcast to go behind the funny, behind what is, what comics deal with, and every comic has these stories of funny bad gigs.
Well,
and I just love going back, and
Yeah.
we spent the last few weeks listening and going back and listening to some of these, and it's been so much fun.
and some of them you forgot about, and
Yeah.
you listen to them again, and I just start laughing.
Yeah.
And we've had some amazing ones, and we've talked about it in the past, the categories.
Yep.
We have, we had the episode from beginning of season 2 that we re-aired a few weeks ago. So if you haven't listened to it, that's a great one to go back and listen to, called It's Still a Bad Gig When, from just a couple weeks ago, where we had Mike McCarthy, John Parada, and we tried to discuss the things that, as comedians, when any of these things are happening or we see or are part of a show that we're involved in, we know it's going to be a bad gig when.
Right. And if you don't have time to go back and listen to that full episode,
Right.
what we've done is we have taken the synopsis that we, a little wrap up that we did at the
We're
end
going to
of
give
that
you the cliff
episode.
notes.
Yeah. So you'll hear us go through, a little background. We set out to find a list of top 10
That's right. That's
things,
right.
and we honestly couldn't nail it down to 10. So we have a list of 12.
12 things.
But what you'll hear is a recap from the end of that episode, where we recap
Yeah.
the 12 things that, as a comic, if you walk into any of these situations, it's going to be a bad gig.
Right. And that episode, we give a lot of evidence to these things. So again,
Yeah.
if you want to listen to it, it's you got 2 great storytellers with McCarthy and Parada. But we're going to give you a quick recap. So here it is.
All right, so here's the 12 things. So number 1, if it's a surprise, if the audience does not know there's going to be a comedy show, it's going to be shitty. Backyard barbecue.
Yeah, the house barbecue.
The house barbecue. If
Yeah.
it's, if it's at a function hall, it's a steak fry, that works. But if it's a backyard barbecue, which brings me into number 3, if kids are there.
Oh, please, people.
And it has nothing to do with
Kids
whether
don't
or not
like
you're
stand-up comedy.
It has nothing to do with whether or not you're dirty, clean. It doesn't matter. Kids, it's not because we're dirty. It's because the material is still, no matter how clean you are, it's still
not relatable.
It's an unrelatable to kids. They don't have the life experience.
Exactly.
If it's free, if you did not charge anything for the audience to get in, it is not going to go well.
Yeah.
Because they have absolutely nothing invested in the show.
True.
Sound system, whether it's no sound system,
Have one.
or a realistic
Have one.
sound
Start with
system,
having one.
People
Yeah,
care.
have a real professional sound
some
system.
sort of sound system. And if you don't have one, ask the comic if they can bring one. 'Cause
A lot
for
of
small
us
fee-
do.
For a
Oh, we
small
can get
fee,
one.
we can.
Right.
Yeah. No focal point. If there's not a spotlight or a stage or something that will bring the focus, or even a clearing in the floor area for us to be able to do it. Like, we can't just do comedy. John can, because he does a lot of crowd work, but you can't just do comedy walking table to table. It's not like magic, unless you're doing
John
a lot of
Perrotta, yes.
crowd work. When the owner double books the room and has to put a petition up and tells you to be quiet on the other side.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's happened. In fact, I remember one time I did a gig. I got hired for a bachelor party at the West Valley Inn. I'm doing my gig, and in my ear, I hear, "What do you do, brother? What's going on?" Fucking John and Eddie Galvin are in the next room doing a totally different bachelor party. It was in a different room. It was so funny. I walk over after my set. I see you and Eddie. I'm like,
mother.
yeah. Oh, I'm having eight. Yeah. So, yeah, double book in the room, not good. No-go subjects are given the second you walk in.
Yes.
Like, you can't
In
do
advance,
this,
that's
you
fine.
can't do that, you can't do
Exactly.
this.
In advance,
Right.
that's fine.
In advance,
Absolutely.
we can
At the
work with
time
it.
you're booking it,
Can't
bring
be
it
walking
up.
on stage going, "Don't do this."
Right.
So you can't tell us one thing and then
Not fair.
freak out about it after.
Not fair.
Absolutely.
Weddings. If anyone ever in a wedding party thinks that it's a great idea to hire a comic for the wedding party or for the bride and groom because that's their favorite comic, unless their favorite comic is Bill Burr or Dane Cook or someone on that level,
And you're paying
and you're paying
$100,000.
ridiculous money, don't ever hire a comic for a wedding. You know, when we're not trying to be funny or anything like that. It's just that the audience is not expecting it. It kind of runs into that whole surprise thing. Number 10, no introduction. The worst thing is when someone goes, "All right, go ahead, go up. We'll
Go now.
Go now.
Well,
go start
now.
it." Or
you know, you're right.
half-ass-
Have someone introduce the comedy show to get everyone's focus that there's now a show.
And you can't.
You know
say,
what I
yeah,
mean?
You can't say, "Hey, you guys ready for the comedian? Here's Mike." All right,
Last
more.
two.
Last two. Comedy between music, absolute killer. And then the last thing, you know, and I think we all had stories on this, was working with other acts who are jerks to you.
So that is the list that we
Yes.
compiled that night that has held up
Yeah.
over the last 4 years. Basically.
It's amazing because, you know, Scott and I have been talking about publishing a book about these funny bad gigs, and we are working on that. And it's so funny because, you know, we want to put them into chapters based on these categories. And it's so funny how so many of them fit into multiple chapters.
Right.
Like we're going to have to kind of put them in like, all right, this could literally go in 4 chapters, but it really hits home on this particular category, so we put it in this chapter.
Yeah.
But it easily could have gone in other chapters as well.
90% of them will fall into one of the categories that we came up with. There are a few
There's
that just
one dominant.
that kind of create their own category.
True.
So we might have an others category when we do just get the book together. We don't know yet. It all depends on the stories that we finally come up with when we do that. But as you're listening tonight, keep that list in your head and see if you could say, okay, this story should be in that one. This story should be in that one. This story could be in all of these, you know,
Right.
type of thing. It's kind of a fun way. That's what we do as we listen to it. So you guys can have fun doing it that way. And don't forget, if you hear Ace say at any time, to your point, take a drink. And
Yes.
I would listen for that in upcoming episodes as well.
Yes. And if you hear Scott repeat himself right after he says something, when he turns into Scotty 2 times, take a drink at that too. And
Or
you'll be doubly shit-faced by the end of the episode.
which I totally don't believe. But if you hear
Yeah.
Ace say, to your point, But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this as much as we enjoyed putting it together. But this is 2021's best of the funny bad gigs.
Or like a corporate gig where it's the lobby of a hotel and there's no chairs, and I'm going and they want me to stand right next to a blender making margaritas.
Oh my
and I
God.
said, but people, you want me to like speak for an hour? Well, this worked. This with people just wandering around. Well, this worked for last year's entertainment. Who were they? A mariachi band.
Oh yeah. So a lot of our guests, when they talk about the funny bad gig story, it's always like some crazy situation that we're put in that isn't conducive to comedy. You know, that.
Oh, can I got to tell you one more.
Yeah.
Because I don't never tell this story, but with you guys,
Hey.
I was playing this club, Rascals, in New Jersey.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. Very famous club.
Right,
Yeah.
very famous. This is back when I had hair. All right. Guys?
Okay.
I'm scoring with one of the waitresses.
Yep. Because that's what we do.
I can't believe. But the thing is, she's like a cokehead. Now, you know, I'm not really a cokehead.
Yeah, no.
For me to get in her pants, okay, I'll try it. All right? But the thing I didn't know about coke was it numbed your nose.
Yeah.
All right? So, you know, it's showtime. Here's my impressions. Yesterday morning, this is James Taylor. I don't sound like anybody. I was like, this is not the drug choice for me.
Especially not being an Italian. You probably had to do two lines, right? Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And that's the girl I married. No. No.
And now you say why? That's hilarious. Oh my God, it's perfect.
So yeah, I did a show at the Comedy Connection, and there was someone there that seen me, and he's like, I want to hire you for a private show at my rap album release party.
What could go wrong there?
Right.
And I was like, I really don't want to do that. And he's like, no, I'll pay you. And I'm like, yeah, there's no reason to do that.
Right.
And he's like, so I do another show, and the kid shows up there again, and he's like, please, dog, do this show.
Oh my God.
Like, no, you know? So I had a friend, and he was having a difficult time getting booked at this time.
Yep.
So the guy goes, well, I'll tell you what, I'll book you and I'll book him. That way your friend has 15 minutes to go on stage. I'm like, he doesn't have 15 minutes of material.
Right.
And he's like, I'll do whatever you want. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. So don't, you know. So anyway, I agree to do the show, right? He's like, I'm going to pay you. I'll feed you. You know, I'll take care of you.
I got
Just
catering.
do the show. So I get to the show, and it's literally it's like a pot club, and I forgot where it was. But, you know, it's me and the other kid that doesn't get booked anywhere, so he's through the roof.
Yeah, he's excited.
I know comedy and music don't mix.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So I get there, and I'm like, this parking lot is really empty. So we go in, and it's literally the kid whose rap albums was about to come out, his mom, dad, and his sister.
Oh my God, no one else came.
No one else came. They sold 200 tickets, supposedly, and it was just the four of us in this auditorium-looking room.
Oh my God.
Oh, so I'm like, all right, so I'll go eat. So I go and get a California taco, and the guy's like, oh, you got to pay for it. And I'm like, that's okay, whatever.
You got to pay for it?
So I'm, you know, because I can't carry a taco, so I had him bring it over to my table.
It's just like the shovel.
So
I'm just in my mind, all I'm hearing is crunching as he tries to hold it up against the bar of his walker, and the thing's crumbling in his hand. I'm sorry.
So no, That's right. So I get on stage and he's like, go for 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm like, that is a real lot.
There's 4 people in the crowd.
So his mom leaves. So now we're down to 3.
Oh my God.
So I bomb. Well, of course I bomb. Like I'm looking at my clock and I'm like, we're almost done. And then
And 1 minute has gone by.
Yeah, and the guy at the taco thing goes, hey, if anyone wants a taco, I'm getting ready to close up.
I'd have one, but by the time I get over there, he'll be closed. Sorry to interrupt your act, but I'm closing up. If anyone, last call for tacos.
So the worst part of the whole thing.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the worst part yet.
No, this is the worst part. The kid whose rap album it is has a panic attack.
No.
Seriously?
Like where his father needs to console him. Like I'm just holding the microphone and I'm like, is this over? Can I get down?
Did you get paid?
No.
Of course not.
He's like, bro, you didn't push the show. Nobody showed up.
It's your fucking album release.
I was like, I'm not releasing a rap album.
Right.
But I think the show that was one of the shows that scared me that was like the war show was in New York, and it was like relatively early in my career. I think I was a few years in. I had just done Catch a Rising Star in New Jersey, the one in Princeton. I don't know if you guys have ever did it. It was a long time ago. It was a really good room. It was a beautiful room. And I had a great weekend. And I had a New York comic who was headlining who asked me to do it, which is why I got this sweet spot and all this. And so I was coming back up and I'm like, oh, I'll stop in the city and do some spots. And I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And so I called like Barry Katz, who used to run the Boston in New York.
Boston Comedy Club, yep.
Boston Comedy. And then he's like, oh, yeah, no problem. I'll put you on. Good spot, like whatever, at the Boston. And so I show up. It's kind of a dingy room or whatever, but I was like, and I ran into people I knew, like Chappelle was there and Jay Moore and all this. And I'm looking at my spot, and I don't think Chappelle didn't know me, but like Jay Moore definitely knew me. And so I get ready for my spot, and the guy goes up in front of me, and there's really not many people in the room. I mean, I want to say there's maybe 12 people in the room. The guy in front of me goes up and he's smoking, because you could smoke back then on stage. He's smoking, and I could tell what he was doing immediately. He would hit the crowd with a killer joke. Then he had a pile of pages on stage, and he would sort of like work the crowd, and he was really good at working the crowd as he was going through his papers.
Yep.
Like looking for his next joke that he was going to try. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then he would try a joke and it would get a laugh or whatever, and he'd smoke, and then he'd tell another killer joke, and then he'd work the crowd as he would go through his papers, trying out the new joke.
Yep.
And then, you know, whatever. So he had this 3 thing that he was working through, and he was killing in front of this tiny little crowd, literally not looking like he wasn't trying. Like that thing that you, like I was saying in the beginning of the episode, to button this all up, is he made it look like it was easy.
Right.
So I went on after him. He killed. I went on after him. I sucked. I tried to do my act. I sucked. I could see Jay Moore and Dave Chappelle in the background. I watched them walk out after about 2 minutes. I just fucking ate it. And after that, I'm like, I'm not ready for New York. I'm only 2 or 3 years in. I'm not ready for New York. I won't go back. And I didn't go back to New York for probably 5 years.
Wow.
And the guy who blew me off the stage was Dave Chappelle. Dave Attell.
Dave Attell. Oh, shit. Are you kidding me?
No, he was the best comedian
in New York. Yeah, right. He could do no wrong for a long time.
He was the best comedian in New York, and he literally scared me away from New York for 5 years.
Wow. Did you ever meet him and talk to him about it?
I literally, I've met him a couple of times, but he did the Byrne when I was working on the Byrne with Jeff Ross.
Yep. And
we were in my office. He was just going for a place to hang out. Like, it was the party afterwards, and he didn't want to hang out with people. He's like whatever. And I'm such a huge fan. He's literally like one of my top 5 favorite comics.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dave, and I go, Dave, I got to tell you a story. And I told him the story.
Yep.
And he was like, I'm really sorry to hear that. You know?
Yeah, he like, probably genuinely was sorry.
Look at me. I'm standing in your fucking office right now.
Yeah, right. I guess you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That is funny.
I don't think we've ever. I don't think we've ever had a shitty bad gig story that included Jay Moore, Dave Chappelle, and
Dave
Attell. That's a new one. Yeah, that's a good one.
So you want to hear about the very worst?
Yeah, let's
absolutely.
Hear it. We love hearing other comics' pain.
There was a guy in California that booked a lot of very strange rooms, like AA rooms, Narcotics Anonymous. He booked the VA hospital and nursing homes, and this. And you could do 2 of his shows a week.
Yep.
You know, because those people, and you didn't get paid, but those people usually you could do it in the afternoon, and they love the attention, right? So he booked insane asylum. There's a big campus. It's called Metropolitan State, just outside of Los Angeles, and it's like acres and acres of different types of levels of psychiatric hospital type fare, right?
Yep.
So we're doing the insane lockup, where they take all the people that are under observation to see if they're faking or if they're truly off their rocker.
Yeah.
You know? So to go in the place, first of all, the clothing is very specific. You can't wear anything that's khaki because all the inmates are wearing khaki.
They don't want to mix you up.
Oh my God!
Imagine that. Yeah. No, I was the comic.
They don't want you left behind.
Right, exactly.
Holy shit!
As they're putting you in a straitjacket.
No, these are dockers.
So you go through like 2 levels of security. You go through one locked gate, and you're locked behind you. You have to leave your wallet with the guy at the gate entry there, and you go in. I think there's maybe about 6 or 8 of us, and we're going to perform outside in this grassy plaza, right?
Yep.
They're letting the people in. This is a big treat for them because they get to come out of their cells, men and women.
Right.
They come out of their cells. They only are thinking about one thing, and it's not comedy. It's lighting up a cigarette.
Yeah, right.
So we got maybe 150 of these inmates, all dressed in khaki, and it looks like some kind of a strange military group, and nobody is listening.
What are they all talking amongst themselves?
They're smoking. They're talking amongst themselves.
Yep.
And as a comic, you're trying to make some impression on them,
Right.
And there's one guy who's like right out of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He comes from the back of the grassy area, and he's dancing to music that only he can hear, and comes right in your face.
Yep.
And then dances back up the aisle again and back and forth. He does this through the entire show.
Oh my God.
But what the things you do for stage time, right?
So how'd your set go?
Yeah, right.
So there was one where there was a fundraiser for some carpenter or something like that.
Okay.
He he sawed off his hand or something with a skill saw.
Oh wow.
And it was, and he was like in a wheelchair in the middle of, it was like, I can't remember, it was like Hibernian Club.
Yeah.
And it was like,
can I interrupt for a second? Yeah. Why was he in a wheelchair if he sawed his hand off?
Thank you. I'm like,
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm trying to put together the wheelchair and losing his hand.
Was his name Matt Malley?
Because because all I'm thinking is, isn't he just going in circles?
I think his post-injury care was not very good.
Yeah,
No,
evidently.
not at all. You know, we'll just put him over on the other side of the room, and he'll just go in circles with one hand.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
my God.
sir. We couldn't save your leg. I came in here for a hand injury. What the fuck?
And so there was like picnic tables on either side. He was like in the middle of the room, and they're like,
Yep.
"Can you just grab like the mic and just like walk around and
Like doing table comedy,
Yeah,
like table magic."
But you're like trying to do table comedy, but you're trying to avoid the guy who looks like he's 3 minutes from coding. Like, oh God, this is, and he looked so bad. It was so like you try to do a good thing, and you're like, hey, waka waka, hey, look at this guy,
Hey,
buddy. So there was that one. I mean, and that's still horrible.
How about a hand? How about a hand for Nubby? Literally a hand. Hey, I'm here all week. Yeah.
Okay, so I have two different ones. I'll ask you guys. Okay. Do you want to hear about it's a bad idea to meet your heroes? Ooh. Or do you want to hear about racism goes both ways?
Oh, that's a tough choice. We know racism goes both ways because we've got some friends. I'm kind of leaning towards the hero one. I want to hear the hero one too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll first
back on. Yeah, we'll have you back on the other one.
Okay. So my first corporate gig, and the reason that it popped into my I never heard of the Irish.
The Irish I had to put that up.
So
that's from when you said, "Hey, I'm not going to be here when you leave."
So the this story's fresh in my head just because you mentioned when we were talking about the upstate New York corporate gig, and I asked Turning Stone because my story takes place at the Turning Stone.
At Turning Stone Casino, okay.
And I actually, a New England comic was on the show opening for me, Bill Campbell.
Oh yeah, Bill. Yeah. We had him on the podcast. Bill. In fact, Bill.
He was on the marathon show.
Yeah, he was on the marathon show with us.
I wanted to ask him when he was on so bad if he remembers this gig at all. So we got hired through like an agency or whatever, and I was like very certain Bill was closing. Like it was like Bill's definitely closing, and I show up. This is my first corporate gig ever. This is the first time I ever had to dress up for a gig. Usually my gigs are in the city. You're wearing a hoodie.
Right.
Sneakers. You're not dressing up for a show. So I had to go out and like buy a suit. Like I had to do all this stuff because I didn't have one.
Just for this one gig.
But I was getting a check that actually had zeros in it. Like it was like, oh my God.
For the suit, right.
This is a real show. And I drove all the way up to Syracuse by myself from New York City. I get there, I pull in. It's this giant, beautiful hotel. And they said, when you go in and you check in, text this guy. He'll come down and meet you. He has like your room key or all that stuff already.
Yep.
And it was first class all the way. I walk in, I text him. And as soon as I text him, he goes, go out by the waterfall. I'll be out. We're all out back. The guys are golfing. I was like, oh, cool. So I go out. It's for Xerox. I don't know if you're Xerox. They were based out of Syracuse. So I go in. I text. I'm waiting by the water fountain. All of a sudden, I look up, and it's like 3 stories high, the waterfall, and there's a gigantic poster of Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright's playing the big theater that night. And I'm going, oh, my God. He's like one of the reasons I wanted to be a comic. Yeah. Him and Bobcat Goldthwait are the two like I look up to the most. And I'm looking, I go, I can't believe I made it. Like I fucking
in the same place as Stephen Wright.
Yeah. And I'm getting paid with a check. It's going to be awesome. And the check was going to the agent, but I was still getting a check with zeros on it, not just an envelope with a couple bucks and you can order on the left side of the menu. Like this was for real.
Right.
And I'm so excited. The guy shows up. He just got off the golf course. He's wearing stereotypical golf attire. And he just starts telling me about how he's so funny. You know, I'm the funny guy at the office. I'm the guy. I don't even know why they hired a comic. They could have just had me. I could have went up. I would roast everybody in there. You better be busting chops tonight. You got to bust chops. There's no ladies here. It's just the office guys. We're playing golf. I'm telling you, you better bust chops. I go, yeah, okay, whatever. He gives me the key. I go back to my room. I'm so pumped up. I have my suit hanging up. I start to get ready, put my tie on. I go down the steps, and I know I'm supposed to meet him. The entire walk to the gig, he's telling Bill and I about how he's you don't understand. When I'm by the water cooler, everybody, they duck out of the way because I'm so funny. And I just zing them left and right, man.
Yep.
We get up there, and Bill goes, Bill and I both were kind of like, so how do you want to do this or whatever? They go, well, we're going to bring Bill up. We're going to bring Bill up. He's going to do his thing. Then we're going to hand out some awards. And then, Mark, we're going to turn over to you. You close out the night.
Oh, the intermission. Yeah, that's cool.
And I go, wait, no, I think you have it mixed up. I'm going to go first.
Yeah.
And then Bill goes on. And they're like, no, you're going to close it. And you're going to. So Bill's only doing like 20 minutes. I'm doing a half hour. It's still not.
Meanwhile, Bill's like, yes.
Yeah, I know.
Because he's also getting a check with zeros on. Exactly. Only doing 20 minutes, right?
But I'm sweating. I'm sweating real hard because I'm a new comic and I know Bill from DJ. Like he's going to smoke this room and I'm going to go up and we're waiting to go on and we're sitting at the table and they bring us like steak dinner and all that stuff and they keep bringing us drinks and they've been golfing all day. So they're all drunk out of their minds. Oh, yeah. And Bill's like, I don't drink. Like, I'm not a drinker. And they were like, oh, okay, whatever, more for you. And they kept pushing them over to me. I'm scared. So I keep going, I'm not going to drink.
Right.
So Bill goes up, does this thing. He crushes. He gets off stage. He leaves and did like, as soon as he got off stage, he could see these guys are getting really drunk. So he was like, I'm pretty sure because he's sober, he was like, I'm just going to get out of here.
Yeah, right.
So he bolts. They do the awards. I go up and they bring up a platter of tequila shots. There's like 8 tequila shots.
This guy comes up. Let's all get more shit faced.
So I go up and they just start yelling like every once in a while in between a joke. They drink. Oh. And I'm sitting there. I'm scared. What if I don't get my check because I?
Yeah, right. Because I'm not being funny.
Yeah, they go, oh, he got drunk and it ruined our. So I'm getting so nervous about the whole thing. I finally go to my last joke, and it was going okay. I didn't bomb or any and I go to my last joke, which I know is going to get a big laugh. And I go right before I hit the punchline, I go, and that's when I walked up to the street and I said, boom, 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 boom. I nail all 8 shots and go, bananas. Good night, everybody.
Oh,
they
my
go
God.
shit. They go crazy. I just slammed 8 shots of tequila without taking a breath.
That's insane.
I walk over to the guy who's my guide and I tell him, I go, get me out of here now.
Yeah.
We got like 2 minutes and I'm going to puke or black out.
Right.
So get me back to the hotel.
Yep.
So he grabs me. He's walking me through the thing. He's telling me how, oh, man, they really should have let me go up. Neither one of you guys made fun of the boss. Nobody made fun of Steve. Nobody made fun of. And I'm looking down at the carpet because I'm trying to not. I'm spinning.
Yeah, right.
Like, have you ever seen casino carpeting?
Yeah.
It's even worse. I'm like, we get to the hotel part where the waterfall is, and I see the Stephen Wright poster. I go over to the elevators. I hit the button on the elevator. An elevator opens up. I walk in. I hit my floor, and I stand there. What I don't know is you're supposed to use your key card, put it in, hit the button, and you'll go up.
Right.
I just hit the button. The door shuts. I'm standing there.
Oh, it's not moving.
2 minutes might have went by. 3 hours. I have no idea how long I was in this elevator.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm standing in an elevator, and I think they call it browning out when you don't fully black out, but you lose time.
Yeah, you're still standing there, but you don't know what happened.
And all of a sudden I hear bing, and open my eyes. The elevator doors open up. Fucking Stephen Wright walks in.
No.
And he's looking at me, wondering why I'm just standing there.
Not getting off.
Yeah.
Did you come from another floor? No.
When you make Stephen Wright go, look at this weirdo. You're weird.
One of the guys that made you want to do comedy.
Yeah. And so that's going through my head. Holy shit, Stephen Wright's in the elevator room. This is the entire reason I'm here. The whole reason it's kismet. There's a reason that this is happening. I have to tell him that I'm a comedian and I'm here, and it's because of him. All this is going through my head. He put his key in, hit the button, and he looks at me and goes, what floor? And I go, it's 7. And he hits 7 for me. Yep. And then he didn't hit his button until after he hit 7. We go up in the elevator, and I'm wobbling still. The door opens up, and I go to walk off the elevator, and I realize I didn't say one thing to him.
You forgot to say it.
I forgot to say anything. So I turn around, and right as the door shuts, I go, I'm a comedian too. And it just...
Yeah, well, I mean, the one I just hear, like, when I mean, looking back at it, yeah, I mean, I don't know how funny, but the one that sticks out is just like, what, you know, as bad as it gets kind of deal where
in
New York City, again, this is the time I've done all these TV shows and it's like things are going good. And some guy saw me at probably Stand Up New York and asked me to do it was like a corporate gig in Wall Street area at a steakhouse in the Wall Street district.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know anything. So I'm like, oh yeah, of course. You know, and he's like, it's like $2,000. And that was more, I never saw, I haven't seen $500, right? Barely. So I'm like, $2,000. I go, he goes, yeah, 30 minutes, 25, whatever you want to do. You know, I'm like, yes.
If you're having fun, stay up
keep
there.
Going. Exactly.
Wait a second, Al. Who books that?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he goes, I go, what time's the show? He goes, be there at you'll go on at 4:00. You'll go on at, I go, 4:00. All right. So it's a steakhouse. I get there and you go downstairs into the private room. I walk in about 20 to 4 or whatever. Mm-hmm. I see these guys, there's tables, all these round tables, all men, drunker than shit. I mean, they are fucking hammered, fucking hammered. They're throwing things. They're wadding up napkins and throwing them. And I'm
You're
like,
already set up for success.
Right.
There's no way, you know, and I have no skills real. I mean, I can do my 10 minutes, you know, pretty nicely. But
how long had you been doing comedy at this point?
Again, that's 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years, and you're just seeing dollar signs. When someone says 2,000, you're like, I'll figure it out. I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm standing there, and then the guy walks over to me and goes, hey, you made it, you know, blah, blah, blah. You need anything? I'm like, no, I'm good. I go, where's the mic? Where's the stage? He's like, what? I go, Mike and a stage,
microphone.
Anything? You got, and he goes, no, wow, shit, we don't have anything like that. I go, dude, am I doing a show or what am I doing? He goes, nah. He goes, you know what? You go stand right there. And he points to the middle of all the tables. He goes, you stand right there. You just stand there and you
I did the same exact show as this one time.
Do the act. Do the act that we saw the night. That was funny shit, man. Do that act.
Oh my God.
And I go, this is, you saw me in a comedy. Oh my God. So anyway, I stand there for 5 or 10 minutes and he goes, hey, we got to, you know, he's trying to tell these guys that we got a comedian. Like, you're going to tell all these fucking Wall Street guys who are hammered. Yeah. All they want is like a hooker right now.
Yeah, right. They want hooker and blow.
Right. Yeah. They're bringing out a comedian.
The fuck up. I got a comedian coming out.
Some idiot 35-year-old guy is coming. What? Yeah. Never. There's no chance in hell this works. So I just walk out. And immediately it's like, who the fuck is this? And I start getting hit with napkins, just rolled up napkins. Who the fuck are you? I'm like, and there's nothing to hold. There's no microphone. So I'm like, I'm working in the round, like walking around.
Right,
like,
you're like doing table magic, right?
Which is even like, you know, like as comics, even when you talk to somebody about other, like you do this just to, I don't even have that. I have nothing. I'm like, I'm putting my hands in my pockets. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So about 2 minutes in, this old drunk guy says something like, you fucking suck. Go kill yourself. And the whole room explodes with laughter. And I'm like, what the? I go, really? You're going to laugh? That gets a laugh? I get nothing? And they go, that's the fucking boss, and whatever he says is fucking funny. They explode again with just explode. So now I've been up there 3 minutes or 4 minutes, and I'm like, there's no, and again, papers flying. These guys these are fucking grown men throwing paper airplanes, balls, drunker than shit. Right. So I just start, I'm in my head, I'm thinking to myself, the staircase is behind me. It goes straight up to that street. I can get the fuck out of here. So I don't run. I just start almost moonwalking backwards. I just start walking backwards, and nobody notices.
No one said anything.
Nobody notices. They just keep continuing. Everything's flying.
They're throwing shit. Right.
I'm outside the room. I'm outside all the way, and I can see the light from the street. And I just look again. I look because I'm thinking the guy's going to come run up to me, going, "Hey, where you going?"
Right.
Nobody. Nothing.
No.
It's like it was never there. So I run up the stairs and I just start running down like 82nd, whatever street, just running for my life.
Okay. Great hell gig story.
Right.
Did you ever work? This was Bananas up in Poughkeepsie.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm there with Paul Bond. I don't know if you know Paul Bond.
I have been friends with Paul Bond for years.
Okay. So I'm up now. He may tell the same story, but he goes up on stage. Now I was before Paul. I was the featured act before Paul.
Yep.
Paul goes up and he hits it's crowded. The whole room is crowded, and he hits his first chord and he starts to play. I'm sorry, like the first verse in the song. And there's a guy sitting up front and he's leaning into his table, talking. And Paul goes, "Excuse me, sir." He goes, I'm trying to work here. Could you just keep it down? I appreciate it, because it's very difficult. And the guy goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Please, I'm so sorry." So Paul picks up the guitar again and he starts playing. And 2 seconds in, the guy's talking to his neighbors and he starts the conversation again. So this went on and Paul goes, "Sir, dude, you got to give me a break up here because I can't hear myself play music. I'm playing music and you keep talking. You're killing it for me. I can't even think straight." So he goes, "I'm so sorry. So sorry." So Paul Bond hits the first kick, and the guy goes, starts talking, and Paul Bond puts the guitar down and goes, get up, out. You gotta go. They're not gonna police the room. I'm policing the room. Get out." And he goes, "I'm sorry. Is this your wife? I'm so sorry. You gotta go too. Both out. Tape out." And then there's another couple getting up with them, and he goes, "I'm so sorry. You're with them. You got out. Everybody out." 4 people getting up, going to the lobby. Well, just then, 40 people get up. It was a Christmas party. And they leave the whole center of the club empty. And the next day, the owner of the club, what's his name? Harlan, loses his shit because they had to refund all the money from that party.
I have so many of them. I don't even know where to fucking start.
Really? As a road comic, really? You have a lot?
But the one I think that is the worst is so horrifying. I don't even know if it's going to be funny.
All right, try it.
Okay.
And feel free to tell more than one, by the way.
Do you remember when Boston Harbor had they probably still have them, the booze cruises?
Yeah.
And they had comedy booze cruise, right?
Yes.
So I got booked to do one of these. And you remember Ramu? You remember?
Oh yeah, Ramu.
Right?
I lost the contest to him.
Yes, I remember that too. So I was doing this with Ramu, and we. So it wasn't even that I had a bad set. That wasn't the issue with the gig. I think I did an okay set. But Ramu goes up there, and this Hispanic guy is heckling him. And he just says to him, like, "What are you gonna do? Tint my windows or some shit like that, right?" and Ramu's having a bad set. That was a good line.
Yeah, I'm saving that line.
So we're done with our sets. We're hanging out on the ship, and this guy who was heckling him, he comes up to Ramu. And he's like, "Yo, man, I didn't like that shit you were saying about me." And I'm standing with Remo, and this guy pulls up his shirt, and he's got a knife in his pocket.
Knife. Oh.
And his friends are pulling him away, like, "No, man, it's not worth it, man. It's not worth it." And then once again, he comes up to me and Ram, and he's like, yo, I didn't like that shit you were saying. And once again, he shows him the fucking knife.
Shit.
And me and Ramu, we go into the captain's quarters or whatever. Where he's like, dude, this guy wants to fucking kill us.
Yeah.
Right. This guy's got a gun. I mean,
that's the problem that's the problem with a booze crew.
You're stuck
you're
with
done
these
with your
fucking
show.
people.
You're stuck with them another 3 hours. Right.
Right. So what happened? We had to hide in the captain's quarters for the rest of the cruise, and we had to exit the ship 15 minutes before everyone else and run.
My God, just so you can.
And
get
they kept everyone else on the ship so that we could get a head start on this guy and not get stabbed. Yeah. See, it is funny to you. To me, I'm like, it's fucking horrifying.
I'm sorry, but if I was telling you that story, you'd be laughing your ass off.
Probably.
Absolutely.
Listen,
and you're lying if you said you wouldn't be.
Oh, I would. Yeah.
One of the most memorable moments for me. I mean, I loved it so much that when I first started, I would get up and I would go out and I would do street performing and Harvard Square. And like I said earlier, oftentimes I'd have a few beers in me and I'd be in the middle of Harvard Square and I'd, put down the hat and I'd be doing my act. And my act was kind of blue. It was the song parodies and it was, it was kind of ranting and there was a fine line between, is this guy a performer or is he just, out ranting. There? And anyway, I had this big crowd around me and they're laughing and I got the hat down and this woman comes up to me, very, professorial type of woman. And she says, I think what you do is very interesting. I don't think you should subject everybody to it. And that always stuck in my head.
I remember one time the headliner, I don't remember who it was late, so I had to stretch. And I don't have that much material at the time, but I had to keep going. And I ordered a beer on stage because I'm stalling.
Yep.
And I had to pay for the beer in front of the crowd on stage, and just
like that's $3.50, sir.
Yeah, and even the crowd was kind of like, oh, like they kind of felt bad for me.
No tabs, sir.
No tabs, sir. Sorry.
But I remember, Paul Kozlowski and I were roommates.
Okay, yeah.
And we had some hell gigs together where there was one. It was a 2-nighter in Vermont at like some kind of a timeshare place.
Yep.
And they're all skiing or something. And so we go the first night and it's the worst, just abysmal.
Yeah.
So we had to go back the next night. We're staying there and we have to go back on the next night. And it was so bad that we lied about our names the next night.
Hi, I'm Lenny Clark. This is Paul D'Angelo.
Well, I introduced him as Paul's stage name. And I was Brian's pseudonym. And it's like, you know what? We don't want people using our names after.
Yeah, we don't even want them to know who we are. That's
my God. We had one gig where we're at a motel, and it was just it's like we're bombing in this motel lounge. In the middle of the set, he goes, excuse me for a second. He goes outside, jumps in the pool, comes out, gets back, and goes back to the car. So anyway, and they
fully clothed,
and they didn't react at all. He's sitting there, dripping wet
in his full clothes,
not a peep,
nothing. Oh my God!
It's like, what do you have to do to applaud? But
yes. Or even notice anything, right?
And we did one hell gig one time where I go on, it was torture. He goes on, he's eating it, and about 5 minutes to go in his set, he tosses me his car keys because we drove together.
He said, go start the car.
I start the car. I bring it around out front. He sees the car out front. He calls them every name in the book and runs out and jumps in the back of the car. And
oh my God, that's awesome. You were the getaway car.
I was the getaway.
Probably the best one, story-wise, probably in all ways, was...
You can tell more than one, dude. Don't worry about it. I know, but
the Brooklyn one where I got booked into a bar in Brooklyn. It was a bar.
Yeah, it was a bar show.
They had a back room, and they had a stage, and I was headlining. And in the middle of my set, a birthday party broke out. I mean, they brought out the cake.
They started singing happy birthday.
They brought balloons that like hung up. So right in the middle of the show, they sang happy birthday. And I'm like flabbergasted. And
you're in the middle of a joke and then bringing out balloons and a cake.
Yeah. And so then the woman whose birthday it was starts opening gifts.
Oh my God! Look, it's a crystal set. Barbara, look what I got! Look, it's a Tiffany jewelry.
That's a steamer. Wow, that's really great.
A vegetable steamer.
I remember.
Oh my God! I love carrots and broccoli. This is gonna go so great.
This is gonna help me on my diet next week.
She literally is. So I'm they have those balloons that sit with the weights and the balloon
on the table,
People are doing this and trying.
And you're trying to tell your jokes.
And I'm trying to do my act. And a guy in the back goes, he said something like, "You're not funny." And I went, "I think I was," until it happened. And he said, I wish I could remember what he said, and I don't, but he said something like, "Just fucking do your act, just be funny."
Yeah.
And I came back with something that made everybody laugh. I wish I could remember what it was, because it was
somehow you won them over.
And he went, "Oh, you think that's funny?" And I went, "No, I know that's funny." Everybody laughed, and he goes, "How about this? Is this funny?" And he took a gun out.
Oh my God!
And I went, "Good night."
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you, folks. I'm done.
And I will never forget this. I walked off the stage, and the owner of the bar was standing there like, and he goes,
he was pissed that you got off?
He goes, "You didn't do your time."
I had a gun pointed at me for the record.
A birthday party broke out, and that guy has a gun. And without missing a beat, he goes, he wasn't going to use it.
Now, where was this again?
Where was it? Was it Staten Island?
Brooklyn. Somewhere in
Brooklyn. All right, Brooklyn. Yeah.
And the guy with the gun even came over, and he's still got the gun in his hand. He's going, "Dude, I was just fucking with you."
I was fucking with you, of course.
And I'm like,
typical Brooklyn response. Yeah.
No way.
That's a typical Brooklyn response. Oh my God. Dude, I was only fucking with you. Come on. That's hilarious.
I have a choice of two, and I'm going to let you be the
You can do both if you want.
You want us to pick one or two?
Yeah, you're up to an hour. That's why I'm looking at your time.
Well, that's that's fine. That's fine.
We can go a little over.
Whatever you want to do, whatever you're comfortable with.
All right. Here's the deal. I'm in a resort, and I'm doing black, white, yellow, all jokes.
Yeah, all jokes. Yeah.
So this one guy, and let me just say, the room is more urban than it is white.
Okay.
Leave it at that.
Yep.
So the guy, this white guy, who's had definitely a few more martinis than he should have, he yells at, "When you going to make fun of the black people?"
Oh my God. Oh.
What? And he goes, I did jokes about blacks. He goes, "No, you didn't." I go, "Yes, I did." I said, "Didn't I make fun of black people?" And black people are like, "Yeah." I go, "So wake the fuck up, Whitey." He goes, "No, I'm not going to be happy until you do some more jokes about these charcoal people."
Holy shit.
I said, "You know what? I want you to stand up so they can see who the racist is in the room."
Nice.
And the guy fucking stood up.
No. Wow.
Bro, every black guy is looking at this asshole.
I'm taking a mental picture, motherfucker.
Dude, I finished by the balls.
Yeah.
I finished with by the balls. Thank you. Good night. And this guy, this white guy, he couldn't have. It was like he ran into his shadow. That's how fast. He's out in the parking lot. 7 black guys run out after him. He's bailing out into the parking lot
because they knew it was going to happen.
Dude, he left his wife at the resort. It was a lover's resort.
Oh my God.
He left her there. And
holy shit.
And they're like, we're gonna beat your fucking. They were out, and rightfully so. He was being
absolutely. He was an asshole. I feel bad for his wife,
and he was being really bold about it too. Which is really kind of fucking really disturbing. Be a silent racist. That's
I was just saying. I mean, it's happened to me two times. Most of the time, it's my audience, and people they'll go with it. And so I've been very blessed in that way. But one was the fight in Pawtucket, right. Back in the day. It was like I think Vinny Paz was fighting. He was like the lead card, and there were a bunch of like Fall River, New Bedford boxers, and they came with huge entourages, and they had no idea who the fuck Bobby Braciola was. They were a lot of Portuguese speaking people from the Fall River area that were backing this fighter, and they packed the joint. So we were total Spockones that night. We showed up in a 1954 chauffeured Jaguar. 1954 guys. And Jags back then, it looked like a fucking Model T,
Yeah, right.
like a Spockoned out Model T. I mean, it was so. But we showed up deep, and we had a big entourage. And I went in there, and I had just come off a couple of shows that I had killed like the week before. So I was going in, I'm gonna fucking own this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And first of all, I'm fairly athletic. My son's a real serious athlete, and I've tried to be an athlete my whole life. But it's not easy for me to climb into a fucking boxing ring. Yeah. And I'm not used to before you get on the stage and rock the mic, you gotta fucking go through the fucking I could be Rey Mysterio or Bruno Sammartino going through the ropes, right?
Yeah, right.
Pedro Morales. So I go in, I almost trip going in. I'm like, this is off to a good start. And so before they'd already had a couple of fights, and the main attraction to these people, Vinny's fight was not the attraction to them.
Right, even though that was the top card, right?
He was the top card.
It was the Fall River guys.
Yeah, Fall River and New Bedford.
Yep.
And they were fighting each other. So there was like people, bloodthirsty people, right?
Right.
They play the national anthem, and it gets and this is, I don't know, 91. I mean, this was way before any.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick taking a fucking knee.
Yeah. And by the way, I watched the 2011 NBA playoffs. It was right after they got Bin Laden.
Yeah.
They didn't even have a lead vocalist. My son and I were watching because we're basketball fans, and everybody, 20,000 fans and all the players sang the national anthem. It was a week after, and there were signs everywhere. Thank you, SEAL Team 6 and President Obama, and everyone sang the national anthem. And it was 10 years ago how fucking things have changed.
I know.
Just watching like the whole place, all the players, everyone singing the national anthem. 10 years later, we're fucking civil war.
Right. Yeah.
That's another story. Anyway, so I climb into the ring, and these people, they before I go on, I thought they had already played the national anthem because it was like 4 previous fights, but I guess those were amateurs. So the pro card was about to begin. So they start with the national anthem, and it gets a fucking spraying of booze afterwards.
Really?
And I was like, that was weird, because a lot of these people were like right off the boat. They weren't like rah Americans.
Right.
Obviously. And they weren't paisans, I mean, the Vinny's people didn't represent the way I thought they would. So I went up there, and I did I'm a Spocone, and I didn't even get into the first chorus, and they were fucking booing me like
really,
wow, like I took a shit on the stage. Like,
you should have changed the words to "My name is Manny."
I know.
I'm a greenhorn. I'm a greenhorn.
Yeah, I'm a greenhorn.
I know. Vinny has hashish, and I got booed pretty badly that night, and I had to crawl back through the ropes
afterwards.
Get with my entourage that think I'm like the second cup, the best thing since white bread.
And they're like, "Hey, boss!"
And get in a '54 Jaguar and go to fucking Providence to get.
Did it have the? I felt like shit. Did it have the front crank on it to get it going?
To me, this was a funny gig in a way.
Yeah,
because the crowd sucked, right?
Yep. Yeah.
The crowd was terrible. I'm in New Hampshire, just terrible, right? But then suddenly there was a lightning storm. So as I told you, they're a terrible audience, and now I'm being heckled by God, And,
yeah, right. Yeah.
And it was literally thunder and lightning and Rob Steen, it was a Rob Steen gig, right?
Yeah.
And he was dying in laughter.
Yeah. Because we all love when our friends are dying on stage.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of supportive dicks we are.
I'll add one, a domestic dispute in line.
All right. That's a good one. Oh, I like that.
I do a little joke about this in my first, my first comedy CD ever. But as I was walking into the Cleveland Improv, years and years ago, this guy was screaming at his, I guess, wife, being like, "Bitch, I will drop you off at the bus stop." And I was like, literally had to just like edge around that as I walked into the club. And I'm like, this is gonna be a tough show.
Yeah. That's before you even get on stage. How do you address that?
So this is not gonna be a warm audience based on the anger in this line.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, I have one. You want it?
Well, if you've been in comedy more than a month, you have one of these.
Yeah. Okay. So do you remember Mike McKenna? He was a Waterbury cop, and so we used to do a lot of gigs together. He was awesome. He would always hook me up. So he gets this gig.
She's laughing already.
Because I got to remember all the details because there are so many that I'll
the
try
whole
to
list of shit. Yeah,
it is insane. I don't even know if I could remember it all. But you should have him on because he'll probably remember. So he gets this gig for us in upstate New York, like literally at the Canadian border. Like it was like a 6-hour drive. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we thought it would be fun. It was a roadhouse. It sounded like wild and cool. So we get up there and, they were going to give us the accommodations and all this. So we get there and there are no hotels. There is nothing but this roadhouse and a couple of like dilapidated houses on the same street. So we get there and the guy's explaining to us that we're staying at the roadhouse. He's like, "Let me show you your rooms." So first he takes us upstairs. It looked like a halfway house for like crackheads. Okay. We go upstairs. First he shows Mike his room. There's no door on it. It's a mattress on the floor with a dirty bucket next to it. I don't know what the bucket was for. They must have assumed you're going to barf at some point because you're going to have to drink so much to
Oh
eat
my God.
being here. He goes, "Oh, but let me show you your room." He knocks on this door down the hall and this woman opens the door, this old woman. He's like, "This is Barb. You're going to be staying with her."
Of course, her name is Barb. Of course, it has to be.
So she's asking me if I like fresh squeezed orange juice in the morning.
Oh my
Do I
God.
like English muffins?
Or a line of Coke.
Okay, thank you, Barb.
Oh, fucking way, Barb. So we're like, oh my God. So then, we do the gig. We go downstairs. The bar had fly swatters for everybody because there's flies all over the
Seriously?
place. Yep.
Oh my God.
There was a guy that worked there. He was kind of the one that was showing us around. He was telling us how the house like across the street, there was like they're pretty sure that she murdered the husband and he's buried in the backyard. There were so many things I'm sure I'm forgetting, but yeah, we were like, why are we here? So I wouldn't sleep with Barb. I said to Mike, I go, "I'm sleeping in the room with you guys," him and the MC. We all just slept on the mattress together. But I never fell asleep. I was up the whole night.
How was the show?
We gotta get out of here.
How was the show, though?
It wasn't bad.
And and they each got $50.
And they go $50.
Well, again, I'm not a drinker. I've just never been like into alcohol. Like I don't care one way or the other, but I've never been drunk.
Yep.
So Mike's like, you need to drink. So I did start drinking that night. I didn't get drunk, but I was a little tipsy.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you, I'll add to that list of horror.
Yeah.
One story that I always tell. So this is years ago. I'm going to say it might have been like 20 years ago now. And I was out here, and I get, you know who Anthony Shriver is, the Kennedy. He's Maria Shriver's brother.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yep.
Well, Anthony Shriver, I've met him over the years somehow through different friends, and he has this charity called Best Buddies. Like, it's a charity for like special needs kids and stuff. It's a great charity if you haven't familiar with it. But
I've heard of it. Yeah.
He had this show that he was doing, and he asked me to perform as, just a charity. I wasn't getting paid or anything. I just had to do like a 15-minute show. And I said, sure. And it turns out it's in Brian Grazier's backyard.
Yeah. Ron Howard's producing partner. Right.
So at the time, they couldn't have been any more powerful. And I'm telling my wife, she's coming with me. And I'm like, hon, this is like maybe a big chance for me. And this is like, oh my gosh, all these people. And I'm nervous wreck. And I get there. And to your point, first of all, there's Anthony Shriver's nowhere to be found. Instead of him, going there and bringing me on stage saying, hey, everybody, pay attention. It's a friend of mine. He's donating his time, blah, blah, blah. Right. So all of a sudden I'm kind of backstage finding out what's going on. No one seems to know anything. All of a sudden I hear like the guy on the offstage mic go, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for some music from so-and-so. Listen to the music stylings of whoever it was. And some woman comes up and sings. And that's how he introduces her. And I'm like, hey, they're going to just like go like next to this comedian guy and send me up there like that, And sure enough, that's what they do.
Oh my God.
And now, if you get a picture of this, it's outside, and it's like all those big 10 top tables, like wedding tables. Like
the big rounds.
With some white cloths on them, and people are milling around, and they're at the bar, and they're just trying to get settled in. No one's even paying attention to the girl singing, never mind. Now, I get up there, and they welcome the comedy of Jackie Flynn. No credits, nothing,
The comedy stylings.
I think I hit 3 of those top 10 things you're talking about. You knew there was a friggin' comic coming. They didn't want a comic. There was no intro. So anyway, I go up there and I'm going down in flames, like just like flop sweat. And, my wife's there and, I'm trying to be clean, kind of corporate-y clean. And my wife is there at the table and a bunch of other people and other people that I knew, some other celebrities. And I'm going down and then I started getting a little risque, trying to get their attention, try to be a little scatological. And all of a sudden, some guy stands up and is like, hey, we got children over here. This is inappropriate. And I'm like,
oh, there you go.
At that point,
Yep.
And I do whatever I can to get with any shred of dignity. I do a couple of jokes and I literally my buddy's with my wife and he's behind her going, he's the bravest man in the world. It's just horrible, and my wife is just like, doesn't want to look at me, So I kind of slink off the stage with whatever shred of dignity I can manage, and I creep over to my table, which is one of those tent tops my wife sat. And this is how bad it was. I got there, and I didn't want to look up because I was so mortified at the people there. And then sure enough, one's like, hey, how you doing? Who are you? And they didn't even know I was the guy up there. That's how bad it was. They weren't even fucking paying attention. So I had nothing to worry about. But
hey, buddy, where you been? The bathroom?
Thing that's ever happened to me in retrospect. I'm sitting there licking my wounds, and all of a sudden, finally, an hour later, whatever, the show's going on, Anthony Shriver has since come up there and introduced himself and started selling some auction items. And at some point, the crowd is like kind of unruly, kind of like they were for me, and they don't pay attention. And Anthony Shriver's like, hey, folks, if I could just get a word in edgewise, please. And he actually says, I feel like Jackie Flynn up here. No good deed goes unpunished. I actually fell out of my chair, but I laughed so hard because it was the final kick in the nuts,
Oh my God.
It was using me as a benchmark to how much it was sucked being up there,
That's awesome. I think that should be the new whenever we're bombing, we should go, hey, I feel like Jackie Flynn up here.
That was the worst.
No one will know what we're talking about. Oh, that is beautiful.